guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is one that's been requested for a very long time, but I've been putting it off just because it's like 80 products. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my current favorite blushes, bronzers, and highlighters. So we have a good mix of different types of products in here. Cream, powder, those are the two types of things, but I'm a huge cheek product fiend, we know this, and I have some very particular preferences when it comes to formulas. So these are the best of the best and the things that have kind of stayed with me for a long time. Most of them have been favorites for years now. So I'm very excited to share this video with you guys today. Kind of weird, I feel like I didn't used to be much of a cheek product person. In fact, I didn't even wear bronzer when I first started doing makeup, and we can tell. But cheek products, I would say, are my second favorite thing to buy, right behind eyeshadow palettes. Maybe even neck and neck sometimes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, but before we start, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Ana Luisa. If you've been here on my channel for any period of time, you probably already know, but I'm so proud to be an ambassador for Ana Luisa. They're a company with such strong values and such a strong commitment to sustainability, and it really shows through in every single launch they do. So I'm wearing one of my new pieces today. I switched out my earrings for the first time since February. I was wearing my gold huggy hoops from Ana Luisa for the entire year, and those were just really convenient because they literally went with everything, so I didn't even have to change earrings between outfits. But these are a little different. They're celestial huggy hoops, so they're still the little tiny hoops, but they have a little celestial charm. So we got a little moon here and a star. I really like dainty pieces like this. And then I also got a new pair of huggy hoops with CZ diamonds in them, so I'm really excited about those as well. But I let you guys on IG stories pick out my new earrings, and you guys picked well. I've also gotten a lot of questions about my necklace, which I've been wearing in most of my videos recently, so this is also Ana Luisa, and then my bracelet as well. Every month in my Ana Luisa videos, I like to focus on a different part of their brand that's really special. So this month I wanted to highlight their sustainable production philosophy. One of the things I love most about their brand is that they don't just focus on sustainable materials, but also sustainable practices for the people that are making the jewelry itself. All the metals that they use are sustainably sourced and produced, so they use all recycled gold and silver for their fine jewelry pieces. Most of their pieces are gold plated, so you are getting semi-fine jewelry with every piece. And overall, they focus on these clean, low impact, and recycled materials for creating their jewelry pieces, but they also have a production process that respects the craftsmanship and the craftspeople who make the jewelry. It's really hard to find transparency like this from fine jewelry companies in terms of the sourcing, the producing, and the entire production line. But I'm really proud to be partnered with a company that really focuses on slow production and slow fashion. Not to mention, their pieces are just cute. So thank you as always to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video. But I think that's all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Full details of this look should already be on Instagram, and I am so sweaty. So let's start.
That's so upsetting.
Alright, I'm going to start off with the highlighters, which is actually surprisingly out of character for me, the smallest category. Of course, there are a lot of other highlighters that I do enjoy, but these are just the favorites of the favorites, and I'm pretty surprised and pleased with myself at how much I've been able to cull this down. I'll start with probably the most subtle and soft highlighter that I love, but Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. Always a classic. I used this just yesterday, but I've really kind of been moving away from really blinding highlighters, which you will see some highlighters in here that are a little bit brighter, but basically what I just don't want is if I'm going to be using a powder highlighter, I don't want it to look really apparent and crazy blinding on the cheekbone. Honestly, I used to really love that look. I used to love being able to turn my cheekbone and just immediately blind the camera, but I think now what I really just want out of highlighters is to get that nice definition on the highest points of my face and get something that's bright but it's not aggressive and doesn't make even a very natural soft glam kind of makeup look really unnatural. Essence Pure Nude is my favorite highlighter for work if I'm even wearing makeup to work, honestly. Honestly, on non-clinical days it's rare that I'm wearing makeup to internship, but this is one of my favorites. It's such a beautiful soft kind of pearlescent glow. They do have a darker shade of this as well, and then some colorful shades which I don't have. So it's a really nice soft kind of pearly glow, but you can build it up to be a little bit more high impact. It just sits really beautifully on the cheekbone. A lot of the time the problem with these kind of subtle highlighters is that you have to build them up so much to get to a kind of noticeable glow where it just kind of looks like you have a lot of product sitting on your cheekbone, because you do. But this one I just think always looks really nice and natural, and if they ever discontinue this, because I feel like Essence has been on a discontinuing my favorite products train, which you'll see later in the video.
I'm telling. I'm fucking telling. So I will rat you the fuck out. I will be Mickey fucking Mouse in this bitch the way I will rat you out.
But yeah, Pure Nude Highlighter, I believe this is $5. one of the best products at the drugstore by far. This I would say is Pure Nude Highlighter, just kicked up a couple notches, so it's a little bit more high impact, but still pretty soft and subtle. The Kajal Mochi Glow Highlighter. So this is the shade Toy Alien, lighter shade I believe. You're gonna see a kind of common theme with these highlighters is that I really like just basic kind of champagne shades. Still nice and kind of glowy and pearly, but a little bit more high impact. And this is another one of those powder highlighters that just sits really beautifully on the skin. I'm not a fan of like baked type highlighters, but these have a kind of like semi-baked formula where it's kind of that still same concept, but it's not as dry on the face as a true baked highlighter. So I love both of these, and these are kind of my go-tos for subtle but still beautiful glows. Meet the love of my life. Honestly, I feel like this has surpassed Amrezy almost for me, which you'll see in a second. The Kaleidos Space Age Highlighter in the shade Ray Rider. This is my go-to kind of like champagne, very nudie glow. And I didn't really think I was going to love this formula just because these are... Okay. These are powdery highlighters that are pretty icy, honestly, when you swatch them. All of the other Space Age highlighters, with the exception of the pink one, are these kinds of like glittery duochrome formulas. They're not really meant to be like skin-like or subtle or anything. So I wasn't expecting to find love here, but this is like the most sunshiny, beautiful goddess dewy glow. It's really bright, but somehow looks amazing under natural lighting. I feel like this, especially after like maybe an hour of wearing, once it's kind of like settled into your skin and some of your natural oils kind of break through, I feel like this takes on this really beautiful skin-like appearance. And it's not subtle by any means, but it doesn't look crappy, basically. It's one of my favorite highlighters to wear to events because I feel like it lasts really well throughout the day as well. And Kaleidos did come out with a new and improved formula of the Ray Rider highlighter, so it's definitely one of the most creamy and beautiful powder highlighters I own. Honestly, I do think that Ray Rider has kind of eclipsed Amrezy for me, and that's mostly just because this is limited edition and I've just been using it a lot less because I don't want to like go through the one I have. But yeah, this is amazing. I do really enjoy Big Chalet formulas like this. I feel like this is one of the best ways to get a really nice blinding glow that doesn't look powdery or icy or just weird on the cheekbone. Kind of like Ray Rider, this gives me a nice goldy champagne cheekbone that genuinely like looks like the sun is beaming from my face. And for me, because I am on the fair side, it's kind of hard for me to find gold toned highlighters like this that don't look like I put like a gold shimmery eyeshadow on my cheekbone. So this is amazing. I would love for them to come out with this again, but I do have a feeling that it's never coming back, so that's fine. There are plenty of dupes of this, so I think the most similar thing that I found recently has been the Clio Prism Air. This is a Korean highlighter. It's a little bit less like baked in and a little bit more powdery than the Amrezy, but it's still very similar in terms of appearance. But either way, love this. For a very long time, I believe Flexitarian was like one of the staples in my favorite highlighter videos. It's been surpassed by another Super Shock. This is the big Super Shock in the shade You're a Catch, and it was with the Valentine's Day collection this year, I believe. I don't really feel like there's too much of a difference between the big Super Shock formula and the potted one. It's really just the size of this, and I just like having a big mirror in there. But I really, really love the Super Shock highlighter formula. They do tend to be very bright, so as you can see, very like blinding glow, but because it's kind of like a cream to powder formula, it applies like that, but then it shears out and it looks so nice and skin-like and almost wet looking on the skin. So this is the highlight that I'm wearing on my cheek right now, and I've been wearing it for like about 30 minutes, so it's not fully like set in yet really. I feel like it takes about an hour for any powder highlighters to really mesh with the skin well. But even though it's a really nice like bright glow, I feel like it looks a lot more skin-like than most powder highlighters would. So if you're not fully on like the cream highlighter train, but you want something that's going to give you a kind of similar effect, I would recommend going for any of the Super Shocks, particularly this shade. And then, of course, the only cream highlighter that matters, which is the Glossier Night Shine. This is just lovely. Honestly, I think it's such a step up from what the biggest cream highlighters used to be, which were like those Cover FX metallic drops. Those I felt like looked so much less skin-like, even though they were very, very blinding, and in terms of like a liquid formula, they did set into the face really well. It's very forgiving. It doesn't dry down immediately, which was a problem I had with the Cover FX ones. So you do have a good amount of time to kind of blend this one out on your cheekbone before it's like kind of set in stone. Plus, it's one of the few cream highlighters I have that actually like lasts really well. That's one of the drawbacks of cream highlighter versus powder. You get a little bit more longevity out of powder, whereas you get more of a natural look out of cream highlighters, except they don't last quite as long on the face. This one though lasts really well. I wore it to prom, so I was wearing it from like 2 p.m. the day before to like got home at 8 a.m. the next day. So this was in it for the long haul. While the rest of my face had kind of melted, my cheekbones still looked great. So yeah, that's the only good thing about prom. Listen, my best friend is in class of 2024, so I felt bad for the seniors last year. But everyone was like, what about prom? We're missing prom. And I'm like, yeah, what about prom? Prom is the worst! Okay, blushes. We have a lot. My relationship with blush throughout the years has been up and down. I went from like not wearing blush at all. Again, those were dark days. I really just put foundation on and eyeshadow and that was it.
That shit is so So disrespectful! So disrespectful!
Needless to say, it's very much taken me a long time to really, first of all, figure out how to apply blush in a way that suits my face. A big mistake that I did for a long time, and I think a lot of other people when they're starting to do makeup do, is that they apply blush the same way that whoever they learned from did. So in my case, I was applying blush the same way like Jaclyn Hill and Carly Bible did, and they had different face structures from me, so it didn't look good. For me, what really works is starting my blush right here and then kind of working it up along my cheekbone. I feel like using that just kind of like lifts my face and gives me a little bit of a nice flush. But yes, I've had a tumultuous relationship with blush. Probably my favorite right now is the Tower 28 Beach Please. I know I've talked about this a lot recently, so I'll stop. This is my favorite cream blush formula. It's smooth without being like slippy. I don't want anything that's going to be like too creamy, I guess, to a point where it's hard to control. So it has just enough stiffness to it where it's easy to blend out and like control where it goes, but you can still like blend it out really easily without disrupting the foundation or anything you have underneath it. And it's just got this hint of dewiness to its finish where I feel like it just looks really healthy once you blend it out. So this is probably my favorite product in the Tower 28 line besides the clear lip jelly, but because of this very versatile color and just the fact that it can be really sheared out or built up if you want it to, I have been reaching for this way more than I should, given the fact that I have a checklist of blushes I'm supposed to be using. This is kind of all I've been wanting to reach for. Occupying a very similar space in my heart are the Glossier Cloud Paints. This is my favorite cream blush that I recommend to people who want to get into cream cheek products but haven't tried anything yet, because I feel like this is something that most people can get into. Very pigmented, so you really do not need a ton. I have like this tiny amount, sorry I'm flipping you off, tiny amount on my finger. Hardly looks like it will do anything, but this is enough to do both cheeks. So that tiny amount just blends out in a really nice even way. And then kind of similar to Night Shine, this is surprising in how long it lasts. Plus they have a lot of really fun shades. I just want to get through these ones and then I want to experiment with other Glossier Cloud Paint shades, but these are my favorites, Dusk and Storm, and sometimes I might mix a little bit of lip gloss in there to kind of give it a very dewy effect. But that's a hack for another day. I've shared that many times before. This is the one I'm wearing on my cheeks right now, and unfortunately I believe it's not available anymore, but I do have a pretty similar one that is available. So this is the ColourPop Disney Designer Collection. I just call it the Belle Blush, but it's the shade Enchanted Mirror, and it's just really beautiful. It looks very boring in the pan, but it's actually in person, I feel like it has a little bit more depth to it. It's a nice kind of neutral, rosy, warm tone shade with just a hint of beige in there, and it's matte on appearance, but it has a little bit of satin running through it, so it just looks really nice and natural on the skin. I'm pretty sure, however, that this is gone along with the rest of the Disney Designer Collection. I think it's just a symptom of ColourPop's insane release schedule, is that their SKUs don't last very long on their website. So something that is available that I feel like is pretty similar is the ColourPop Garden Variety Pressed Powder Blush in the shade Whole 9 Yards. This one looks a little bit deeper in the pan, but I feel like it's a little bit less pigmented. It's a very similar, like nice, warm, kind of rosy terracotta shade. It has a little bit more shimmer than the Belle Blush, a little bit more kind of like a gold shimmer, so reminds me vaguely of a lot better of a formula than NARS Orgasm. Plus you get a little succulent pressed in there. I really like ColourPop's Pressed Powder Blush formula. I feel like it lasts really well throughout the day. This is a blush color that I really don't have a ton of, and I feel like it's pretty hard to find this type of shade in most lines, but this is the Oden's Eye Alva Fruit Blusher in the shade Sweet Peach. And for me, this is one of those like white whale makeup products that I didn't realize I wanted this blush color in my collection until I had it, and I was like, this fills a gap that I didn't even know I had. It's like peachy as the name would imply, but it's also kind of like a cool-ish toned mauve shade, so I feel like this can work really well with both warm tone looks and cool tone looks on the eyes, and honestly most skin undertones. So here's the shade. These blushes are pretty pigmented, so you do need to be a little bit careful with how much you go in with on the first application. By the way, thank you so much to everybody who's used my Oden's Eye code. I believe it's Julia10. I don't really keep track of most of my affiliate codes, just because most of the codes I have with brands I don't make money from, but the Oden's Eye one I do, and it's been really nice to see you guys ordering the new Alva collection and using my code, so thank you to everyone who's done that. I know that there are a lot of other people who have codes, so I definitely encourage you to use other people's codes as well. If I can say anything, it's just use a code when you order. Support somebody. It does not have to be me. But yeah, this is Perfection, one of my favorite kind of travel blushes because I know it's going to work with everything. This is a blush color that looks so very basic, but it's one of my favorites. So this is the Sigma Quarter Rosa blush, and it's quite a famous color for Sigma. They did an entire like Quarter Rosa collection. Was it last year or was that earlier this year? This has been the longest year of my life, I swear. 2020 has just been the longest year of my life. I'd like to cancel my 6-month free trial, please. Anyways, it looks like such an unspecial color in the pan, but I can see why they made an entire collection out of this because, like, damn. She's pretty. Again, similar kind of function to the Sweet Peach blush from Oden's Eye in that I can use this with pretty much any different eye look. Because this, to me, doesn't really have an undertone. It's not really warm toned, but it's not aggressively cool toned as well. On me, it looks a little bit more warm toned just because I do have very strong yellow undertones in my skin. But I do think that this is a very neutral color that will work with most things. And honestly, I don't have a ton of things from Sigma. This is actually the only thing I have from them now. But it's a huge favorite and I don't see myself ever getting rid of this. And then finally, something I can no longer get here because Essence is pulling a Samantha Robin doll on me, but the Essence Satin Touch blush is probably my favorite blush formula besides the Tower 28. Essence, I believe, is very big in Europe, so I'm sure that most of my European followers will be able to get this. It's just the loveliest, softest, creamiest formula. This is literally impossible to apply too much of, so especially if you are a little bit more heavy-handed or you're just starting out doing makeup, I think this is a good thing to go for because A, it's like $3, and B, it's really hard to overdo this one and make it look bad on you. It looks matte in the pan, it honestly looks matte when you apply it, but it just has that tiny amount of sheen throughout the finish that's really only perceptible once you've blended it out on your face. And that way it doesn't really like flatten out your cheeks by adding color, it just looks nice and healthy and like subtly glowy without looking like you have glitter on your face. So this I recommend to anyone and everyone. I would love to see them doing more shades of this and also bringing it back to Ulta in the United States. Thank you. I'm in the home stretch. Bronzers. Oh my god, there's so many. I feel like I should cut some out. Probably my current favorite bronzer right now, and this is probably just because it's been the thing I've been wanting to reach for most often, so I've really been only using this, but the Fenty Beauty Sunstalker bronzer. This is the shade Shady Biz, which I believe is the second lightest shade. I got this bronzer, I want to say at the beginning of this year, maybe like February or something, so I've had this for a while. It's always been a really good formula in my opinion, but just recently I've been reaching for this a lot. I just think this is a lovely, lovely bronzer formula. Rihanna did it, no, not Rihanna. Okay, that's something I need to stop doing, is like saying Rihanna did a really good job with this collection, because I really feel like Rihanna's probably not super involved in the product production of Fenty Beauty stuff. Obviously it's her brand, but I don't want to like associate her so directly with each of the products because I feel like that makes it harder for me to like get rid of some things. But Fenty did a really great job with the formula of this bronzer. I think the tones they did are really good. Some of them, while they are on the more cool tone side, most of them, especially Shady Biz here, they did a really good job in creating tones that are warm toned enough that they are bronzers. They're not like contour powders or anything, but also can work to sculpt out the face if you need to. I definitely am not on the train that you can't use bronzer for contouring if you want to, especially on your cheekbones. I feel like that's a more forgiving area than like your nose. But this is a lovely, soft, creamy, blendable, beautiful formula. And currently my favorite bronzer, so I love this. This is one of the most underrated bronzer formulas in my opinion. But Becca, I feel like they're not known for all of their cheek products, pretty much just their highlighters, but their bronzers are seriously, seriously amazing. So this is the shade Bronze Bondi. Honestly, it's a little bit too dark of a shade for me. I should have gone for Capri Coast, but this, I feel like it's blendable enough of a formula that it doesn't really matter to me. Like this is just lovely. It's such a soft formula, kind of like the Becca highlighters, a little creamy and buttery in texture, so I feel like it just blends seamlessly on the skin. This and the next one have the subtlest amount of glow running throughout it, where I feel like it just gives you a really nice healthy warmth. So this is one of my favorites to go for during the summer. It's quite similar in terms of appearance to the Nabla bronzers, but this is a very different formula. So that one is a very creamy, like dimethicone filled powder, whereas this is like a kind of weird semi-baked formula, but not really. It has that kind of similar effect on the skin with a little bit of shimmer running throughout, but this just looks so healthy and natural, and because it is so tightly pressed, I feel like you can't get a ton of color payoff from it. And I feel like bronzer is one of those things that if you over apply it, it looks very bad. Like,
have you ever been snaked by a friend and just for the clout they'll do it again?
My shade is Ambra. I mentioned this in my recent dewy product recommendations video just because I think this is one of the best, very natural looking bronzers to go for. Butter bronzer I really like for that reason as well. This is one of my favorite formulas. I don't love the wasted space and I don't love the scent, but I have used quite a bit of it and it's one of the best formulas, so I can see why this is such a cult favorite product. Very nice and soft and buttery, you can barely see it. I have the light shade, so this is definitely a very soft color on me, which again, basically like the Nabla one, I can build this one up a lot and not have to worry about it looking like I put too much bronzer on. Another underrated favorite, this is the Milani Silky Matte Bronzer. I have the shade 01 Sunlight. This is my favorite bronzer and kind of contouring powder in one. It's a pretty cool tone shade overall. I think all of the shades in this line are a little bit more on the cool tone side, but it's not like gray or anything, so I feel like I can still bronze with this one. I think Butter Bronzer and this are the best to kind of building a makeup collection. I would recommend either of these as like the first bronzer you buy. This was in my yearly favorites last year, is one of my favorite products of the entire year, but the Cover FX Sunkissed Bronze Duo. I do use the matte side a lot more than I use the shimmery side, but this is a really versatile product, really good for traveling as well, because I can kind of get either a very nice glowy bronzer look out of it, or just doing a straight up matte bronzer. This is a very pigmented formula, so wouldn't necessarily recommend to beginners, but and while it is pretty expensive for the duo, I do feel like you get a lot of product in here and you can get a lot of versatility out of it. This is one of the most bang for your buck high-end makeup products in my opinion, but the Milk Makeup Matte Bronzer. You get a ton of product in here for $24, and you really do not need a ton of product every time you use this bronzer, and it also has never gone patchy on me. So this, I think, is one of the best value products you can get in terms of cream bronzers. So good. You get a full ounce of bronzer. That's a ton of product. Then this is a bronzer, blush, and highlighter palette in one, but whenever Hourglass re-releases the Ilume Sheer Color Trio, get it, because Samantha Robindel's going to talk about it and then it's going to get discontinued again. So special. I really only use this one, like the Amrezy Highlighter, on special occasions because I don't want to go through this original formula. And if Hourglass comes back out with this and it's not the same good formula that this is, devastation. Alright guys, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed my favorite blushes, bronzers, and highlighters. Lots of products that we covered, but those are all my current recommendations for favorite chic products. Thank you so much again to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video, but if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Visco, I don't know, Animal Crossing, just kidding, we're keeping that private. And if you made it to the very end of this video, you get the bonus meme. Love you.